Welcome back. In this video we're going to take a look at useCallback. useCallback is another hook that is used for performance. With the use memo we memorize some values, but with useCallback we memorize a function. So let's go and see where it comes handy. Alright, so here I have a very simple component. It has two states, count1 and count2, and we have a function to increment count1 and one function to increment count2. And I have a button here to do the increment. If I go into the button, I have a log here that would log when the component re-renders, and then there is a return that would call the onClick function. So let's go and see it in action. Here I refresh. As you can see, two rendered here, one for this button and one for this button. And if I press this one, I again get two renders, both for this and for this. It's obvious that the rendering of this component is not necessary. In this example it's fine because it's very small and tiny, but if our component gets huge and needs to load like over 100 items on the list, so if it keeps being re-rendered even when its items do not change, it can cause performance issues. In this case, when we are adding this counter, we don't need to render this one because this hasn't changed. And the same is here. If I press this button, this should be re-rendered, and this doesn't need to be re-rendered. In order to do that, we need to use React.memo. React.memo is a built-in React feature that renders a memoized component and skip unnecessary re-rendering. So if I go back here, if I go to the button, I can get the memo here and call the button inside that memo. At this point, we might think that, okay, that's about it. Great, we have solved the problem, but let's see it. If I go back here, if I refresh, and if I press the count, same thing happens. But why is that so? Let's go and see a component once again. This component renders two more components, this component and this component. And there are two functions here defined. In React, when a component, which is this component, re-renders, which is the case here because one of these counters has changed, a new instance of the function in it will be generated. So these functions will be regenerated because a re-render happens here. So the reference to this function will be different after the re-render. Hence, in terms of referential equality, the functions are not the same. As a result, when I press this button, both of these components re-render because this prop has been changed. So how can we resolve this referential problem that we have here? Now it's time to use the useCallback. To solve the issue, we simply need to wrap our handler function, which is this function, inside a useCallback function. So I would say useCallback, and this useCallback will take two arguments. The first argument is the function that we have here, and the second argument is dependency array, just like other hooks that we have learned so far. Depend on count1. So basically when count1 changes, this increment function will be recreated. Otherwise it will not be recreated. We should do the same for this function. So I would go here, grab this, and at the end we would have count2. Now if I save and go back and refresh, so first time both of them are logged, and if I press count1, only this callback function is recreated. The same is here. When I press this one, only one render happens. So yeah, this was it about the useCallback hook, which works best with a optimized component using the use memo. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.